Today we're gonna make old-fashioned chewy gingerbread cookies. They're soft and chewy and perfectly spiced with ginger and cinnamon and molasses. They're to die for. It's everything you remember from childhood, but better. So let's get into it. So gingerbread boys are super simple. It's just the creaming method with like a few added ingredients. So our first step then is going to be to cream our butter and sugar. Put my butter in there. It's still a little bit cold, so I'm going to cream it by itself and let it temp, and then I'm gonna add my sugar so I don't get like chunks of butter. So if your butter is super cold, you can speed it along with a kitchen torch and just kind of like move it. Don't keep it in one spot, just kind of move it slowly all around. And you're really just trying to like, you're kind of heating up some of the butter, and then it's mixing in with its friends, and it's all becoming one temperature. So now my butter is cool but pliable, so I'm going to add my sugar. And then I'm going to cream that. So I'm just going to whisk together my dry ingredients really fast. I've got AP flour, a lot of ginger, hence the name. And then cinnamon, and then some cloves. I have kosher salt and also baking soda. And it goes, and then we're just going to whisk those all together. Whisk it really well because you don't want any clumps of baking soda in there. Okay, so my butter is nice and light and fluffy. And I'm just going to add my egg. Just beat that in there really well. Okay, so it's beautifully incorporated. And next we are going to add our molasses. So go ahead and turn that on. Kind of low, start low, and then pick up the speed. You really are trying to kind of beat it in there. It is a lot of the sugar, like the sweetest of the gingerbread boys is coming from the molasses, so you want to make sure that you know, it's evenly incorporated into your batter. Okay, so what we have here is like a really nice, smooth, luscious looking batter, so go us. So our last ingredient before the dries is apple cider vinegar. So this kind of gives it like a little bit of tang. It's also going to react with the baking soda. It's what makes these gingerbread boys so much better than all the other ones. Just saying. So go ahead and pour that in there. It's going to curdle your batter in a little bit, like in a little way. It's not, you know, but don't stress about it. So just beat it and it'll start to come together again. It's still going to remain a little bit broken, and that's okay. So now we're going to turn down our mixer speed to low, and we're going to just slowly add our flour mixture. You don't want to wait until it's all incorporated before you add the next batch, otherwise you're going to kind of overmix your dough and you're going to have a little bit of tough cookies. So I'm just going to scrape down my mixer because I can see that there's kind of, you know, unincorporated bits all about. Let's go ahead and finish mixing this. Incorporate all of our dry ingredients, and voila, c'est fini. Woo! So I've lined my counter with plastic wrap. I've just put it down so that I can just plop this on there. I've got my best friend, the bowl scraper. I'm gonna have a lot of gingerbread boys, am I not? All right, so kind of push it out, create your own little dough packet here. So our dough is wrapped nicely. I'm going to take her and transfer her to a half sheet pan, which I'm going to pop in my fridge. And so this, traditionally, we chilled it overnight when I was growing up. And not only does it allow the dough to firm, which makes it easier to roll and also less gluten development, so a nice, softer, chewier cookie, but it also allows the flavors to kind of like meld and mingle and like hang out with each other and become one. You can chill it for 2 hours, but preferably overnight, okay? That's my rec. So our dough has chilled overnight, and I've let it temp just a little bit, probably just about 15 minutes max on the counter, just so it's still cool, but it's definitely more malleable, because otherwise if you try to roll it when it's super duper cold, then it'll crack and you don't want to deal with that. And then I've got my oven preheated at 325, so we are all ready to go. Like, let's do like an ample amount of bench flour, right? I don't want that cookie dough sticking to my counter, and then I am gonna just kind of lightly flour the top of my dough. Not aggressively, but just a touch. And then I'm also going to flour my rolling pin. And then I'm just going to kind of continue to move my dough as I roll. It's gonna roll out really easily because we've already kind of temped it. I'm trying to make it into a shape where I can get as many cookies as possible out of it. You can re-roll this dough. If it's cracking, that's fine, just smoosh it together. It's just probably still a little cold in the center, and that's not a big deal. We've got ourselves a nice even dough here. I've rolled it out to about 1/4 inch thick. I like my gingerbread boys super chewy and thick. And then I'm just going to, you know, cut out whatever I want, right? So I'm gonna do like big and little stars because I feel like that's gonna be super cute. I usually don't like to do big and little cookies on the same tray, so you want to keep all of the cookies. They can be different shapes, but they should all be about the same size on the same tray. Otherwise, you're going to have some that are underdone or overdone, and we want all of our cookies perfectly done. Okay. Last one, best one. And we can also re-roll and use our scraps. I do only like to do re-roll like once. Usually by the end, my mom and I would just make one giant big cookie because we get so sick of doing it. And we just also both really love like a really thick, obnoxiously large gingerbread boy. We have now rolled our gingerbread mittens and such, and cut. And I'm just gonna chill these for about 5 to 10 minutes, nothing crazy. And then I'm gonna pop them in the oven for about, like, let's call it 8 to 10. I'm gonna check after 5, rotate, see what's going on. You don't wanna overbake them or they'll be kind of, you know, less chewy, more crispy. So our cookies are out. They cooked about 5.5 minutes. They puffed, they looked matte, and then they kind of sunk as they cooled. And then they're really soft and chewy. You can see they move. Okay. Anyways, so we are ready to decorate. I'm just gonna do a very simple, easy 10x icing. I've got some cornets that are made. I'll link up there to my quick tutorial on how to make cornets. So I've got my 10x. I'm not going to make a lot of icing, and so I am not going to use a ton of 10x. And then I am going to take a little bit of milk. I am not going to add too much at one time because I don't want to, you know, overwhelm it and make it too loose. But the nice thing about this icing is that you can literally just keep adding 10x and milk until it's the right consistency. You can put a little bit of vanilla in here if you like. But there's so little on the cookies that I really wouldn't stress about that. Okay, so obviously this is too thick. Yeah, so we're gonna add a little bit more. I mean, really, we're only adding like a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons, max. 2 tablespoons is actually a lot for this amount of 10x, but all right, so just keep whisking it in there. Okay, so I'm actually super happy with this consistency. You can see that it's, you know, it holds its line when I move it, but it runs a little bit. So we're gonna take a little bit on our spoon and we're gonna allow it to drip into our cornet. I find this the least messy way to fill a cornet. So the way to fold a cornet once you've filled it is, you see where your seam is, right? We're going to fold away from our seam. We want to keep the seam tight because we want to keep the tip tight. So kind of flatten it like that, and then kind of, I like to fold it almost like an envelope in a way, and then just fold over the top and roll. And this keeps everything tight, but it also allows you to kind of continue to roll down as your cornet empties, keeping the tip tight, and also making sure no filling kind of splooches out. I like to start small. You can always make a bigger hole, but you cannot make a smaller hole. So I like to start small and then go from there. Oh yes, look at this. Check your drip, and then go ahead and start decorating. So with the cornet, you can also flood. So go ahead and like make a shape, and then you kind of let it dry a little bit, and then you kind of fill in the center. You can have 2 different size cornets for this. Take a stick, a skewer, and then kind of just, you know, fill in the sides. It's like a really basic way to flood. So once you've decorated all your cookies, then you're gonna let the icing set and cool, and it'll get like, you know, a little hard, so when you poke it, it won't, you know, just go everywhere. And then you can enjoy them. They're super soft, you can see, oh my gosh. There's like a little crunch on the outside and super soft and chewy on the inside. The molasses, and it's just like, oh, that gingerbread childhood flavor that you love, right here.